the Sharks fall in overtime to the Edmonton Conner McDavids and lose 2-1. We'll talk about that and more on this edition of Teal Town After Dark. But first, if you want to be a part of the show and Teal together and interact with us, check us out and chat with us across all of the social media platforms, including Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the YouTube chats, SoundCloud, Reddit, and then, of course, all the shenanigans that go down in the Discord. And check all of that and more at tealtownusa.com. I'm pleased to be joined by Mr. Ian Reed. Ian, how are you doing this evening?
I'm all right. I mean, it is what it is at this point. I'm fine, though. I mean, I don't know, man. This team sucks. But we know that, right? Like, we know that. So it's like, it's, again, a whole lot of anger for this team. But, yeah, this team sucks.
As we've said many times within our own DMs, there's only so many ways you can slice a turd. And we're getting to that point, ladies and gentlemen. It's unfortunate. You know, the Sharks put up a great effort, especially against Edmonton, really weathering the Conner McDavid storms that he would have. I mean, definitely showing you why he's the number one superstar in the NHL. It's always a pleasure to watch him on the ice. A little interesting to see that Leon Draisaitl did not suit up this evening. So, you know, for Edmonton's run's sake, hopefully they'll get Leon back sooner rather than later. But I think you could definitely see it within the structure of the game tonight. Very much one and done type situation.
Yeah.
You know, I think really kind of one of those slogging type of affairs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, like, I don't think if you're an Edmonton fan, you're probably happy with the win, but are you super happy with how they played this game? Probably not. Like, I don't think the Oilers played that great of a game versus the Sharks. I think they came in, even though, like, they still need all the points they can get, really. But I feel like they came in tonight and they said, well, the Sharks are ass, so we're going to play like the team's ass. And I don't think, like, we saw a particularly good game from the Edmonton Oilers, which makes that, you know, and so if you want to bring that to the Sharks, the Edmonton Oilers didn't even give it their full effort and they still handled them.
Yeah. And I guess that just kind of goes to show you the lack of talent there and the talent discrepancy between the two teams, and you know, just how far the Sharks have to go. But in that first period, the Sharks would score first, 15:32 on the power play. Beautiful one-timer from Tomas Hertl. Brent Burns getting the puck over to him, and Timo Meier doing a great job in the boards to spit it back out to the blue line. We've seen Hertl score this goal time and time again, but Ian, what did you see on this one that just eluded the Oilers?
Yeah, I think it was a nice set play. And I think it's just like you said, we've seen Hertl score from here a million times. Like, to me, it was just a good set play. And again, I didn't think the Oilers were very good, and I thought the Sharks maybe caught them a little bit. Caught them resting on their laurels a little bit on this power play. I thought they had good movement on the power play leading up to the goal. I don't know. It was a good goal. Like, it was a good goal. It was nice to see the power play kind of have some success, because the power play's been a real Jekyll and Hyde situation for this team all year. So it was nice to see it, you know, a little bit on. I mean, obviously,
we'll talk
the
about
power play giveth, the power play taketh away, but
exactly. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the segment. But yeah, definitely the precursor to the power play giveth, power play taketh away. That's for sure. In that first period, shots on goal would be 7-10 in favor of the Sharks, and like we had said, really opened up with a slogging type affair. The Sharks really, I think, weathered the storm of Conner McDavid and then pinned them back in their own zone when they could, and took advantage and got that power play and was able to score on it. Going into that second period, it would even out a little bit. Shots on goal would be 10-10 apiece. Not really too much to go through in this one. I think that there was a power play by the Edmonton Oilers. Sharks would, of course, kill it off. And to me, again, you're maybe seeing the effects of not having Draisaitl and not giving the Edmonton Oilers a consistent attack in the offensive zone. So, the Sharks were able to press on that a little bit, and I think we saw that in the shot stats being fairly even. Going into that third period, for me, at least, I don't know how you saw it, Ian, but I felt that the Sharks had done a good job pushing back within like the first 10 minutes of that period. The shots in that third period would be 5-11 in favor of the Sharks. Edmonton, again, still really kind of sleepy and sleepwalking, but and
that's the thing. I mean, if like that, as a Sharks fan, I think that's what's frustrating is like Edmonton really, they never really looked that engaged in this game, and yet they were able to kind of hold the Sharks. Now, Mike Smith did get lucky a couple times too. I remember there was a Couture shot where I was surprised Couture didn't put it into the net. And actually, Logan Couture, for a guy who's taken a lot of flack lately, some of it definitely deserved. I thought this was probably one of the better games he's played in this recent stretch. Because I know some people have been really kind of sour with Couture. I'm not as sour with Couture as other people, but I thought he played a much better game tonight, like a really good game tonight. Probably one of the better games I've seen him play in quite some time.
Yeah, I thought Logan's game was good, and he's also very much dependable within his own zone, right? So you've always got that, and you've always got the just that 200-foot game that he brings. But I thought on the offensive attack tonight, I thought he did a pretty good job facilitating and taking shots when he could.
Yeah. Mike Smith got lucky on a couple of shots where I thought Couture was going to put it in the net.
Yeah, and I mean Rudolph Balcers as well, hitting the goalpost and going through the blue paint, and there could have been a couple of goals that the Sharks could have scored. Maybe one in that first period that could have gone in, and a couple in that second period that could have gone in. But I think really where it falls apart is the Sharks, get that power play, and 11:56 in, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins gets a shorthanded goal with the second power play unit on the ice. Ryan Merkley tonight was kind of all over the charts for me insofar as we got to see the talent on display. We see the creativity. We see the fantastic skating. We see the vision. And then sometimes, and to be quite honest with you, on this particular goal, this was more on Mario Ferraro than it was on Ryan Merkley. I think Mario Ferraro pinched way too hard and was way too far down. And again, when you're got a 1-0 lead and you get that power play there, you've got to shift back into not full conservative mode, but I would say a more balanced blue line attack where, look, if anything goes below, let's say, the hash marks, then, don't let those defensemen pinch, because you got to make sure you have that extra back end protection, because if it squirts out, if it gets past one of them, boom, you get a 2-on-1. Exactly what happened. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins gets it from Zach Hymen, and Darnell Nurse, really just doing the bulldozer job down in the corner, pulling it out over to Hymen, who legs it out. I mean, very speedy skater. We've seen that in his time at Toronto, and then getting it over to Ryan Nugent, and he just buries it. So, unfortunately, there. I mean, what do you see on this breakdown?
It's unfortunate. Here, the problem, I mean, like, I think you hit it around the head, right? It's a really bad pinch by Mario Ferraro, but because that's what starts the play, it's not going to be what gets the attention, right? What's going to get the attention is Ryan Merkley kind of just diving at whoever has the puck, which I'll give him credit. Like obviously, like he's trying to obviously make a play there, and he's trying to stop. And I joked on Twitter like, there's some things from Brent Burns' game that you should absolutely pick up, but the starfish isn't one of them. The difference between what he did and what Brent Burns usually does is Brent Burns usually like does the starfish and then slides out of the play. This wasn't that, right? But he's still, once you're on the ice, you're on the ice. You can't do anything else. So I think obviously a desperation play by Ryan Merkley to try and prevent a goal here. I just, but an ill-timed one at that, and it's unfortunate because like you said, like with the bad pinch, everyone's out of position and Ryan Merkley's trying to play probably three people and he shouldn't have to be playing three different people. And that's obviously problematic. But again, once you put your belly on the ice, you're out of the play.
Yeah.
So I understand it's a desperation play. Do I think this was worthy of getting benched the rest of the game? No, not really. I mean, again, he's trying to make a play on three different players because he has no help. But of course, someone has to be accountable. So Ryan Merkley has to sit on the bench for the rest of the game. And that's just Bob Boughner at this point. I could give the same rant about Bob Boughner, you just don't want to repeat the same shit every show.
Yeah, and Bob Boughner, great segue there. We got some comments coming in from AJ. I thought our big boys were good tonight. Where has this been? I don't know. The last 6 or 7 games we've played well, but the big mistakes have cost us. And I think the first part of that highlight is kind of, or the first part of that comment is kind of garbage because it's like, look, the big boys have been what's kind of sustaining and keeping the team afloat. What I kind of take umbrage with, or at least I'm a little concerned, quite frankly, is the fact that these mistakes continue to happen. There's, we've played well, but the big mistakes continue to cost us. It's like, okay, if you understand that they continue to cost us, why are they being made? And at what point do you need to start rectifying that portion of the game?
I think he tries, but he just can't, But again, it's like, you can only bench, obviously I'm not trying to justify things here, but obviously like this team has enough problems. If you, let's say, and I'm just pulling a name out of a hat here, right? Because I don't think Erik Karlsson had his best game tonight. But if you set Erik Karlsson on the bench, well then the puck is just gonna, the rest of the game is gonna be in your zone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Chester Chivo with the Jim Tom Sula reference. Oh boy, Chester, good to see you chiming in. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and really, at this point, I think we're going to start to have a bigger conversation. Once we finish this game off, and to that point, the Sharks would hold it together till overtime. Conner McDavid would be sprung by Mike Smith himself, goalie handler, puck handler extraordinaire. Mike Smith gets it out to him on a poke check, and McDavid's off to the races and goes backhand, and you're not stopping that. I mean, at that point, I felt at that point, if you could collectively pull anybody who's watching that play, anybody, if you're in the arena or if you're even just watching it on ESPN or watching it, over in Canuckistan, you've got to think at that moment he gets that puck at the blue line. He's all alone. It game over.
Yeah.
At that point I'm like, yeah, I don't even need to watch this. I see where this is going. And yeah, that's how it would end. The Oilers would score in overtime, and Mike Smith would get the assist, his first on the year. Conner McDavid's 41st goal, and Edmonton Oilers would prevail. Tonight's attendance, according to ESPN, was 12,046. And let's take a look over at the shot counter. 32-24 in favor of the Sharks. The Sharks with 22 hits on Edmonton's 19. Face-offs 27-23 in favor of the Sharks. I mean, you look at this statistically, this looks like a 2-1 Sharks win, but of course, with the Sharks making the mistakes, it goes the other way. And
the Sharks, see, here's the problem with the Sharks, right? Is the Sharks, they're not good. I mean, I don't know how many different ways I can say that. They're not good. And in order for them to beat really good teams, they have to play a perfect game. But bad teams don't play perfect games. So it's kind of like a conundrum, right? And then on top of that, you're going into overtime. What the fuck is Matt Nieto doing starting an overtime period? Like, this is the problem that I have with Bob Boughner. And this is the problem that I have with the team, right? Like, he just, oh no, I have to have that, somewhat defensively reliable player out there just in case things go wrong. Well, things went wrong and it didn't matter, right? Like, I don't understand how Matt Nieto is your fucking go-to starting guy in a 3-on-3. And I understand that this team doesn't have a whole lot of weapons, but let me tell you something. Matt Nieto isn't fucking one of them. Like, Matt Nieto is not one of your weapons, period. If you think Matt Nieto is one of your weapons, that's a problem.
So Ian, then we need to start having this conversation then, because I think, picking it up from where you're at with your frustrations in the deployments, my frustrations with the fact that the organization is not cycling through more of its prospects to see what they have. Is this team going to be stuck at this ceiling of mediocrity with this coach and with this commitment to players that have not actualized yet? And I am going to pick out one guy, and I love his work ethic. I love what he's been showing me, but it's not translating to the stats, and it's not translating into goals. And that person, and you'll probably know who I'm talking about, is Rudolph Balcers. I mean, at what point do we say, hey, we're playing him, we're playing him consistent minutes? When is it time to be like, okay, maybe it's time to give another guy a look?
I mean, who else do they have though, right? This is the problem though. Like, it won't be like other guys don't get looks on this team, so that's what you get. You get Rudy Balcers, because just the same reason why, like, you look on the defense and like guys like Jacob Magna and Nicholas Melange, and like this, they got to bring in some other guys and give other guys a chance, because they traded a guy like Cogliano away, who again, didn't really do what people wanted him to do defensively, and obviously he wasn't adding anything to the offense, but he was the quote unquote safe guy, right? Like, this is the problem, is Bob Boughner is married to these safe guys, and if he's the coach next year, it's going to be more of the same. It's going to be more of the fucking Lane Petersons getting a million games and power play time to boot, where other guys are going to be like, what about me? Like, I actually have, upside. Oh, no. You made a mistake in the first period. You're sitting on the bench the rest of the game. But my safe guys are going to go. And this team, again, you don't sign Tomas Hertl to an 8-year extension if you're going to do any sort of rebuild. So this team's going for it next year, which means, again, same coach, same bullshit. It's going to be the safe guys getting all the ice time, and any dynamic player that might do something great, but then might turn over the puck, because, sometimes dynamic plays are high risk. Well, no, we can't have that. I mean, go sit on the bench.
Ian, did you hear tonight the crowd at SAP just completely get out of their seats for Ryan Merkley? That is why you keep him in the lineup. I mean, he's a guy that puts butts in the seats. And maybe he's not going to have the greatest of defensive nights, but you're going to see a little gem like that little pirouette that he did on the ice tonight gets everybody, a little excited. And then you bring in Eki, into the fold next year. And I'm like, look, the future is bright. The guppies are full in the pond, like, let's.
Well, I think next year, see, this is the problem, right? Like, I think I think next year is going to be pain, but I think there'll be more bright spots next year. But I still think next year is going to be pain. I don't think that depending on what they do this summer, I don't think this team's suddenly going to contend. Look, they don't have money to spend because you have to hold money aside to get Timo Meier done. So it's not like they're going to go out and replace Evander Kane. Right?
Right.
Now, yeah, should the Barracuda be more interesting next year? I think so. I mean, are all these guys that we're so excited for, are they going to come and be first, opening night guys on the Sharks? Probably not. That's the reality of it. Probably a lot of them shouldn't be. And that's also the reality of it. I know everyone wants to get super excited. Now, I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade here, right? But some of these guys are going to need some time to transition to the NHL game. And that's what the Barracuda's for. And the Barracuda were, not great this year, but I think they're going to be significantly better next year, depending on, I think there's still some question marks on defense, and we'll see what they have in goal. I think, is Magnus Krona coming? I would assume so. I don't understand why you trade Melnichuk otherwise. So obviously I think that's, so is Krona going to come? Maybe. And he had a pretty good year in Denver, sorry. So, I'm curious to see what that brings.
So at this point, yeah, I mean, at this point, are you convinced that Bob Boughner's the right guy to bring these kids into?
No. He has no patience for young players. What this season has given you, if this is a team that's going to try and compete by bringing in young guys and having them try to get spots, well, if they're going to get 30 seconds to not, if they're going to get one screw up and then be stapled to the bench repeatedly and then not dressed, why would, I don't know why that would give anyone faith. Bob Boughner is the coach because he was one of the guys that they employed when they fired Peter DeBoer.
Okay.
And they didn't want to hire another coach. Obviously they did hire some people in the off season after his first little stint, but other than that, I mean, it was just all guys that were already on the payroll.
Yeah. And we've got AJ coming in. Thank you, AJ, with some more from the locker room. We were able to dictate play, what they had to do. I thought we did a good job breaking out and boxing guys out in front of our net. It was a good game. Unfortunately, someone had to lose. Of course, what else is he going to say there? But it's again one of those frustrating nights. You see up on the scroller there, 917 save percentage for James Reimer, and he's doing everything he can to keep the team in that and give the opportunity for the kids to grow in front of him. And I'll ask you this, Ian. After this season, should Bob Boughner be allowed to go into next season or go even into training camp as the head coach of the San Jose Sharks?
No, but he will.
No, but he will. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's not going anywhere. He's safe. I would be shocked if he was fired in the offseason. I don't think he's going anywhere. He's going to be here. Because again, here's the other thing, right? I feel like Bob Boughner is one of those guys where ideally you would hope he'd bring along the kids, and then when you get good, you fire him and bring in a real coach.
Right.
But he's not doing the other part well either, right? I don't think he's doing a particularly good job bringing the kids along. You see a lot of these guys who I think have had their games negatively impacted by just fear of being I'm going to make a mistake and then I'm going to sit in the press box for a week.
Right. So in your mind then, do the Sharks need to go younger, or do they need to go with a more, let's say, proven coach who has a proven record of getting the most out of young players?
I don't know. I mean, and this is where I don't know the answer, right? Because I don't believe in the Sharks' vision going forward.
Okay.
I don't believe. I think that look at. I love Tomas Hertl, and I'm happy he's still here. But with that, I'm just. But at the same time, I feel like in 5 years, we're going to be still talking about this team being shit and how it's now going to take another 5 years to get out of it.
Yeah. And that would then suggest that the youth that comes up isn't going to be enough to push them over the top. And that.
Because it depends. Like, maybe the Sharks will surprise me, right? And they will, take a wrecking ball to some of these core pieces. But until I see it, I don't believe it. Like, until I see them starting to take a wrecking ball to some of these core pieces, like the guys that make up the core, if they don't touch that, if this unending loyalty to those guys continues, then I mean, how do you get optimistic?
Yeah. Yeah.
If Marc-Edouard Vlasic is still here, and maybe he has to be here because I think that buyout is really gross if you do it this summer. Like, it is really gross. But if you're going to keep him here, then you probably have to move Brent Burns. He's your next most movable guy, in my opinion. I don't think you move Couture. If you move Couture, then you have one center.
Right.
Right? Like, NHL teams need more than one center.
There has to be a blue liner because that's the only.
Right. It has to be from the blue line. Look, Erik Karlsson's not going anywhere.
Yep.
So it's got to be Vlasic, whether that be trade or buyout. Likely, again. And if you think that if this team wants to have its cake and eat it too, it's not going to spend a high pick to move Vlasic because they want to rebuild and be competitive at the same time. So that to me leaves Brent Burns. And I look at, I like Brent Burns. I think, does Brent Burns play always, am I always in love with Brent Burns play? No. But is he a good defenseman? Yeah. And he's he's a guy that, as much as like sometimes we harp on him, like I've said it a billion times, GMs would trip over themselves to get a guy like Brent Burns on their team. Even probably at all his cap, honestly.
Yeah, I think you could get somebody who would take, the entire cap and.
But I mean, so even if you retain, right? So if you retain some cap, but I don't think you have to retain a ton of it. Like, I don't think Brent Burns' contract is so toxic that you have to retain 50% and drop a bunch of futures on top of it to get him out of here. No, I think you could, a GM would grab Brent Burns because every GM says, yeah, okay, there's some liability in his game, but I've got the perfect guy to play with him. Every GM thinks they've got the perfect guy. Doug Wilson thought he had like 4 of the perfect guy. And he paid them all accordingly and then had to, buy one out, and one's not playing right now, and that's how it goes. But yeah, there's always I still feel like there's a GM out there that's gonna be like, I have the perfect guy to play him with.
Who's your team then that you'd like to see maybe take a run at a Brent Burns and could really thrive?
I mean, I don't know. I think if you're that's a good question. And I don't have cap friendly up in front of me. So obviously I'd have to figure out how to make that cap work. Like, maybe you'd have to make somewhat of a hockey trade there. Maybe the Sharks have to take back a contract that maybe they don't want to take back to make that work. But there's always a team, right? Like, I don't know. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head where I'm thinking like Brent Burns perfect. Just because again, it is a big cap number. So obviously you would have to probably take a contract back. But I don't know. I still think like there'd be teams that would take him.
And thank you at Jerry F for the Venmo donation. We really appreciate it. And
yeah, appreciate it.
You know what? It goes back into the show that you're watching. So we appreciate the donation, and it's your tax dollars at work. some people are keep pushing Dallas. I mean, look, there's all sorts
I
of
get the
narratives,
Dallas one, right?
but
Because, Dallas Pavelski, but I don't know, man. Like Dallas, maybe maybe.
But like you said, I think Brent Burns has enough cachet left in the league to where.
Oh yeah, I think absolutely.
Where a GM would be more than willing to, give up some assets to get him. And again, not necessarily being, of the Brent Burns that won the Norris Trophy, but it's going to be a guy who's going to add some offense from the blue line.
I still think he's
physical.
a productive player, and I think if he doesn't have to be like, if you were a team like, I think Dallas is a good situation. Right? Let me take a look at Dallas's blue line quickly here, just because it's been brought up 100 million times. So let's talk about Dallas. Let me bring up ye old cap friendly.
Ye old cap friendly. And while you're doing that, 3 stars of the game tonight was Mike Smith, number 1 star, Tomas Hertl, number 2 star, and Conner McDavid, the number 3 star. And I don't know, I would probably put Conner McDavid number 2 and Hertl number 3, but I guess we're at home.
Jesus Christ. Dallas re-signed Suter. I didn't realize Suter got like a 4-year deal. What are you doing, Dallas? But here's the thing, right? So if you bring
thank you so much. Out on the Wire 3, super chat donation from the great state of Alberta. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Province, excuse me.
Yes, province. But here's the thing, right? Like, could you picture a situation though where if you bring up Brent Burns and you're Dallas, right? Like, obviously, Heiskanen's there. He's going to be the guy that's going to chew all the minutes. Like, if you could take some of those minutes off of Brent Burns,
yeah. And especially
that's the ideal thing, right? That's what you're looking for.
And especially if Klingberg's not coming back, and they're going to be moving on from Klingberg, then I think that would be a great little piece to kind of fill in that production. So it'll be interesting to see what the Sharks do. And then of course we also have the goaltending carousel. And again, we heard it on the broadcast tonight. They're talking about the carousel that is the Sharks goaltending, and they have an asset there that they can parlay into something else. So there's going to be.
Here's the thing, right? And I just saw in the chat. Sorry, Drew saying the Kraken have like 30 picks in the next 2 years, and they have the cap space. The problem is Brent Burns does have some control over where he goes. He can go to 3 teams.
Right, and I think what is that? Vegas. Is it Vegas, Dallas, Vegas, Dallas?
I don't know. No. He could give you that kind of a list, right? Where like, yeah, I'll go. I want to go to these 3 teams. I want to go to Tampa. I want to go to Vegas, and maybe not Vegas anymore, but I want to go to Tampa.
Maybe Florida, Tampa, Florida, Texas.
So I don't know. I mean, so you're not going to dump them. Like, you're going to have to work with them somewhat. And again, but I don't know. I just think. I think ultimately my point was, before we got super sidetracked here, is that like something has to happen with this core. If the team goes forward loyal to this core, like those core guys, and nothing gets changed in there, like what do they expect to change otherwise then?
Right. I mean,
that's all.
It's the pounding your head against the brick wall motif playing out in Sharkland, I feel like. And that being said, they're going to be middling, and this is kind of the result of that. Hopefully, like we said, we can get some, get some decent production out of the prospects and the young kids. But again, it goes back to, you got to have a coach that's willing to play them. Got to have a coach that's willing to help develop them along. And at this point, I mean, Bob Boudner very much seems like he's cut from the same cloth as Peter DeBoer, and
except for his dollar store Peter DeBoer. Like he's like when you go into the dollar store and you go into the toy section and you get Action Man instead of G.I. Joe. Like that's what he is, right? He is Bat Person instead of Batman.
Robin. You got Robin?
No, it's Blue Jay.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Because you can't copy, you can't infringe. You can make it look as close as possible. You can't like go against the trademark. So yeah, he's Blue Jay.
Blue Jay. Yeah, I like that. I like the comparison.
It's Bat Person and Blue Jay.
Bat Person and Blue Jay. I mean, we saw him up close and personal tonight, Ian. I mean, and I quickly just want to quickly glance over before we start heading out into the weeds and closing this thing up. Mike Smith still an Edmonton Oiler, and are you surprised that the Oilers didn't do anything more to shore up that goaltending?
I mean, yeah. I mean, absolutely, right? I was looking, like, when they're showing the stats for the guys today, like sub 900. Like, if I'm, and I know we got some Oilers fans watching, and
We really
I mean
appreciate
this
it.
with all the love, right? Like, I don't know how you guys do it, because, like, I look at this team and I look at my goaltending, like, and I don't understand how, like, I don't understand how Ken Holland is going to get away with wasting McDavid's prime years and Draisaitl's prime years. Like, I feel really bad, because I feel like if I'm an Oilers fan right now, I'm excited. I'm always, you're always excited for playoff hockey, especially when you go a long stretch without it. But man, like, I'm not comfortable. Like, I wouldn't be running out to put money down on either Edmonton or Toronto, for that matter. Why? Goaltending, both teams.
Yeah, you look at Toronto's game earlier tonight, and you just look at how they imploded, and it could have been very similar with the Oilers, and I think Oilers fans were collectively holding their breath when they saw, Mike Smith keel over on his leg, and it's like, uh-oh. It's like,
Yeah, I was weird. I was curious what happened there, because at first I thought maybe, like, somehow the puck got him between the pant leg and the pad, like right above the knee, because that hurts like a bitch.
yeah.
But I wasn't. But then it looked like a stretchy thing, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It looked like he maybe when you guys, sorry, reading Dana's comment. Thanks, Dana. Maybe it was going down into the butterfly, and pulling back up. Maybe he had pulled something or pinned something. I don't know, but yeah, kind of.
No free ads.
Laurel saying gotta be sugar free.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is.
Ian, I mean, going into the next game, what more? I mean, do you think we're going to be in for a round of pain against Calgary?
Yeah, I mean,
or are they gonna? Or
I feel
the
like
Sharks?
some guys are starting to check out a little bit, and it's really obvious. And some of them are really good players that probably shouldn't be checking out.
Does he happen to have a 6 and a 5 on his jersey?
I'm gonna get hell for this, and I'm usually a big Erik Karlsson guy, but I didn't like.
I saw it too.
Game at all tonight.
I saw it too.
I didn't like his game tonight, man. I'm a big Erik Karlsson guy. Like, you guys, if you guys go back and watch episodes, I'm usually a big Erik Karlsson guy. Not his best game, and I just not good enough.
Hey, for me, it was a little bit of the attitude he had after the puck skipped over his tape there on the blue line, and he stopped skating. He just stopped. He just let it go. I watched him watch the puck sail into his own zone. You had two Oilers coming down, and he only had one player back, and it's just like, come on, man. Like,
yeah.
At least stretch your legs and make it look like you're trying to skate. I mean, come on now. I don't know.
Not a good game. Yeah, I was not happy with this game tonight at all. Yeah. And but again, like, oh man, imagine trying to stay engaged when it's like when Bob Bugner sends you out there with you're already bad, and then he like says, you know what, here, look it, I understand it's overtime, I understand it's 3-on-3, so you probably want to have some offense out there, but let me tie one hand behind your back and then go play. Like, it'd be hard to stay engaged.
Oh, I mean, come on, overtime winner Matt Nieto? No, no, just me. And AJ, thank you, AJ, for chiming in. If you haven't already, go check out AJ's Twitter and actually the Teal Town USA Twitter. Landy, I gift the EK play you're talking about. Just watched everybody skate by him. Yep, that was the one I was talking about. And it sucks because he's the leader of the team, and this is a
and he's a guy who's been like, again, like he's had a really good year this year. As far as like, I think he's had a really good year. I think there was large stretches of the season where he was the best defenseman on the team, but this game wasn't good.
Yeah. True saying Karlsson needs to go back to Ottawa. I mean, and then Jerry F going forever #forever home. Look, I mean, the thing is, even if he is homesick or even if he is, butthurt that he's still not in Ottawa, I mean, look, dude, you're not going anywhere. You got
no, exactly.
You got a golden sized bone anchor, and you better be happy with where you're at. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, obviously, look, the writing's on the wall for this team. It's been for a while. I don't know, man. Like, again, frustrating game because I don't think Edmonton gave you even close to their best, and they still walked out with the W.
Yep. Chester saying, can we get Norris back? Yeah, I think we're all asking that. I mean, we had talked a little bit about the prospects on the last show, so I don't think we'll need to do another check-in maybe for another week or so with them, and going through and having Djurgården season just finish up. We'll see where Eki ends up.
That's sucky. I mean, sucky way for them to end. Real big fall from grace for Djurgården.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do, right? Because I think that, I mean, okay, you could have kept Eklund here and played him. Like that was always an option, right? But I don't think the Sharks were going to do that just because they have, again, like if Eklund pops off and you burn a year of his ELC, well, then that's, you can kick that can down the road a little bit, right? And I think that's what they wanted to do. And I think they thought that he was going to have a better season in Djurgården than obviously he did. And obviously the team wasn't very good. I don't think it was a complete, like, I don't want to say, like, I don't want to get anyone worried, like, oh, this was a complete disaster. We've completely destroyed his development. Now, I think it's fine. Like, I think, look at, if the plan was always not to let him use a year of his ELC, his options were Djurgården over in Sweden or the Barracuda. I probably still rather him in Djurgården playing in the SHL than in the AHL. Now, with Djurgården getting relegated and playing in the Allsvenskan next year,
yep,
I don't think that is a situation where you send Eklund back to. Now, some people on here are going to go, wait, Ian, didn't Jonathan Dahlen go to the Allsvenskan and, find his game? And I'll say, yes, that's true. That happened. Here's the difference. So you have to remember the age difference too, right? Like, obviously, Jonathan Dahlen didn't really have a good time in the, I want to say, what is it, Vancouver system?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really go very well, right? Came over, played for the Barracuda for a bit, and then went back to Sweden. Had to go and basically found his game in a place that was comfortable for him, which was Sweden, right? Now, Eklund, sometimes, and that's fine, like to go over and find your game and then cash that back into, an NHL deal and an NHL one-way deal. I mean, that's awesome.
Hey, and he beat,
as a young player, to go find your game, right?
And beat some trajectory of some prospects from Scandinavia who will come over for that 1 year, take a look, and then be like, hey, I want to go back home, because that's
sure.
So at least he came back after he found his game there.
Yeah, no, and that's it, right? Like, he went and found his game. It's a different situation. Now, William Eklund, on the other hand,
right,
he's going to be a 19-year-old prospect next year. The best thing for his development is to play against the best competition. Now, I think the SHL is one of the best hockey leagues in the world. Probably the number 3 league. behind
after
the
KHL.
NHL and the K.
Yep.
Exactly, yep. After the K. The SHL is probably the third best league in the world. I think the AHL is probably better than the LSV. I'll hear arguments to the contrary. Jump in my Twitter and let me know if I'm an idiot for saying that I think the AHL is probably a better league than the Allsvenskan. If I'm wrong, jump in my Twitter. Show me your work.
I think you're probably right. I think in the echelon it goes NHL, KHL, SHL, AHL. I would say it would be the DEL and Svensken would be very close. The Liga would also be in there too.
Yeah, Liga would be up there.
But
I don't know. Like I said, show your work.
Yeah. So in that general area. But yeah, I think if especially if Djurgården got relegated, they're going to be going back to Allsvenskan. It's good to keep him against against the best competition he
not
can.
Only better competition, but even like let's say he's not on the team. I think William Eklund's going to be on this team next year.
I do too.
In the off chance, like maybe they go and they send him to the AHL for 20 games or 30 games. Like at least he's still playing on the North American ice. And look at the Barracuda are going to be a much better team next year than they were this year. Like if he has to play 30 games on the Barracuda, he's going to have much better players to play with than he would this year on the Barracuda.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. And again, who's to say that going into this offseason he doesn't, bulk up a little bit more, get a little bit more ready for the NHL game and go off next year. And
yeah,
again, prospects are a round at the lotto, or a round at the craps table, whatever you want to associate the metaphor with, but it's a crapshoot, and they all develop in a little bit different way, and all you can do is just give them the best opportunity to develop to the best of their ability. So for Dahlin, that was going back, for Dahlin, that was going back for Eklund. And I think it's to keep him against the highest level of competition.
Yeah, and that's what he needs to do, right? He needs to play against the highest level of competition where he can hang. Yeah. And to me, that should be next year. That ideally will be the NHL. If it has to be the AHL for a stretch, like I said, for a stretch of 20, 30 games, so be it. But at least it's on the North American ice surface. It's playing the North American game, which is obviously ultimately that's the game that, he's going to have to excel at if he's going to pan out, which I love this kid. I'm still super excited about this kid. I know he didn't have this season in the SHL that they probably would have liked him to have. And again, it's hard when your team isn't good too, right? Like it's hard to be good when your team isn't good, because this isn't basketball. One guy's, like star players are really good, but they can't win a game on their own.
Yeah. Maybe a goaltender. Maybe.
No, because they can't score.
That's true.
Right?
Well, tell of getting a buck off that. Ricky, I mean, we could go into the Roy Sommer talk, but I think we've talked about it. Everybody's talked about it. It's the similar situation as to Bugner. I mean, he's going to be kept there. He's an organizational favorite and
Kevin bring up, like, just check out the NHLE chart, which I know of it and I know where it is. I just talk out of my ass on this show. I don't always have everything in front of me, but he was right. Liga's definitely higher than the Dell.
And for everybody watching, we really appreciate all of the concurrent views, and we ask you to please subscribe and hit the notification bell to check us out after we go live after every single Sharks game. It's a grind, but we do it. And Ian, where can the people find you in the final thoughts on the evening tonight?
Final thoughts on the evening. I mean, I've laid it all out already. I don't really have much more to say. You can find me at Ian Blogs Hockey on the Twitter machine. I don't know. I haven't really been tweeting a lot lately, but I'll try and tweet more. I don't know, man. Twitter sometimes just annoys me because it's just like sometimes needs to be like a cesspool of negativity, and I don't know, man. It's not my game.
Yeah, yeah. Fun must be always. Let's take a pick. Let's take a page out of the Hertl book, right? And cast out that toxicity.
The thing is, like, it's so easy to be nice. Like,
Yeah,
so many people on Twitter just want to be dickheads, and I just, like, it's fine. Like, if that's your thing, like, then you do you. But, like, it's so easy to be nice. I don't know.
it really is. It really is. And as far as my final thoughts go, again, I want to see continued growth. I want to see the team moving in a good direction, putting the players in a position to best succeed, putting them in a position to best develop. Right now, I think the Sharks have kind of taken a little bit of a backseat on the development and really continue to push this veteran forward, or veteran heavy group together, and not allowing the kids to make the mistake. To not allowing kids to make a mistake without serious consequences and repercussions. And I think for me at least, that they're it's done. And so now it's time to let them make the mistakes. It's time to see what kinds of talent and what kinds of creativity that these players have, and going forward to see how this is going to shake out for next season. As far as where you can find me, you can use my first name, that's Erik, last name Landi, across all of the social media garbage platforms. That being said, in case you missed us and you want to check us out again, check us out across all of the podcasting platforms, that being the Apple Podcast, the Google Play Store, the YouTube Rewind, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and of course, all of that and more.
Yeah, juice our numbers. Download us on everything. Just juice our numbers.
Check us out at tealtownusa.com. And remember, too, if you haven't checked it out, or if you have not seen it, Pucknologist goes live on Sunday at 7. And drop them a like, and drop us a like on the Apple Podcasts. Give us comments. And, continue those comments in the line here on this video if you're watching on the rewind, and we'll try to get your comments on next show. That being said, I think we've covered up everything. So for Ian and myself, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real, Teal, and thank you, everybody. We will see you after the game against Calgary.